Great, thank you everyone. We are about to start with the last session for the Agora tonight. We invite everyone to take a seat, and I'm very happy to see all the speakers already on stage. And this session will be all about skills for space, the next challenge. And I start this day in the silver with Fiammetta Diani, so I'm very happy also to conclude this session as well. So Fiammetta Diani, Head of Market, Downstream and Innovation at EUSPA, I will give you the floor. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
So thanks, Valentina. Indeed, we started this morning. I always forget the jingle. So we started this morning with the user, and we finished the day with the skills. So that's. My name is Fiammetta Diani from the EU Agency for the Space Program. And before introducing our speaker, I just wanted to start with an anecdote from my life. So when I graduated in aerospace engineering, there were not enough companies out there that can give a good job or valorize the skills that we had. Now I talk with my same professor at university, and they told me the contrary. Now, as soon as people are graduated, they are taken immediately by the space industry. So a lively ecosystem that need even more skills than what are available. So that's why we are here today to discuss this topic with you. And we will have a small panel with us, and I have a co-chair, that is Tomáš Halaška. Then we have Tom Trill from Qualinx, one of our startups, so brave to engage in a GNSS chipset. And Milva Carbonaro from Space4Geo, so that will already offer many things related to skills, and so she will explain us. But before going inside, I would like to give the word to Giancarlo Granero from the European Commission, DG DEFIS, head of the Space Economy Unit, who will give us a bit of introduction to the topic. Giancarlo, please.
Thank you very much, Fiammetta, and good evening, everyone. Yes, I will not keep you long, because I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts before the panelists give you the real substance of this session. Today, I mean, it's been a very productive day, I'm sure, for all of you. But I also thought one thing, that if you look around in all this fantastic venue and the beautiful visual we have, I mean, you see a lot of satellites, you see maps, you see the Earth and other planets. And you may think space is about this. Space is about satellites and launchers and, I don't know, astronauts, etc. And in reality, space is about, first and foremost, people. And our talents, your talents, that are really making Europe one of the leading continents in the space race. So that's what space is about. Of course, if you disregard the Android at the entrance, but the ESA Android at the entrance, but I hope they will never be able to replace the skills of the people. And Fiammetta told you an anecdote of her life, but if you look at the statistics, they confirm the situation, in the sense that today 80% of the companies in the space sector have trouble finding people with skills, in particular in the digital area, AI, quantum, etc., and space. And in many cases, this inability, these difficulties of finding people also leads to delay in investments. So this is a real impact on the space sector. So that's why I think skills are recognized as a very, very important part of space. They are recognized as such in the Commission communication, a vision for the European space economy. The objective in that communication is to have Europe as in a leading position in the space economy by 2050. And to get there, one of the big building blocks is about skills. So that's why I'm really happy that there is a session on skills here at the Space Conference, and I'm really happy that you have the best people here to talk about it and stimulate reflection. So I wish you a good session on skills, and I'll leave the floor to Fiammetta. Thank you very much.
Grazie Giancarlo, thanks. So we wanted to start telling you what we already have on skills in the European Union, in particular European Commission and EUSPA. And so we would like to introduce you briefly about the activities in space. I would like to give the word to Tomáš, who will guide us through it.
Thank you very much, Fiammetta. I would like to also welcome you once again at the session. Thank you very much for coming. So first of all, we would like to show you what already we are doing in the European Commission when it comes to skills for space. So if we have a look at the very first activity that we are overseeing in DG DEFIS, our CASSINI space camps. Is an initiative that has been launched in 2025 as a pilot project. And if we think about the future generation of us, let's say, specialists in the space industry, we need to really think about our youngest audience. This is one of the main reasons why we have decided to pilot this project that is targeting kids aged 14 to 18, so usually the end of primary school and the beginning or the whole cycle of high school, and to mainly introduce them to space, to really showcase that space is not only about engineers and scientists, but we really need more other specialties as well, because space indeed is applied in many other industries, such as agriculture, transportation, maritime, insurance, etc., which is very important. So the pilot project was very successful. We had nearly 200 kids who were inspired through this event, and we have organized it in 7 member states on average for a week. And it was a combination of introduction to space, so some sort of curricula, but also free time activities where they could have also try to, let's say, touch a satellite and to also see some tangible results. Another activity that we have in DG DEFIS is the Space Career Launchpad. So indeed, once you are in a bit later stage of your life, when you're, for example, a student or a fresh graduate, it's not very easy always to enter the market. That is the reason why we have developed this platform, which mainly lists internship opportunities and fresh graduate positions. And it is a very great way for young people how to find their place in space. Because again, we are trying to promote through this platform that we have really space for everyone, which is one of our main mottos. And again, to, let's say, slightly get rid of the idea that, again, space is only about engineers and scientists, but it's really wider spectrum. On the other hand, it's also a platform very useful for companies because they can find the future talents for them, and it's a very important source for them. And one of the biggest advantages for the companies is the fact that the platform is completely free of charge when they want to either post their job or if they want to look for future talents. And last but not least, we are also trying to showcase the success stories of people in space, to also indeed keep in mind the gender balance, because we have indeed many successful women who have made a very successful career in space. And this is another of the ways how we can support the bigger inclusivity in the space industry, on which we also had a session earlier with my colleague from DEFIS. Now I would then give word to Fiammetta to also introduce other activities that are under the hat of EUSPA.
Yeah, so if you are a company and you want to advertise position in a space specialized in space, so please use this launchpad. And also, if you are academia and you have young talents to propose, so that's the place to be. But let me go to the other things that we are already doing that is pretty mature and is out there and is widely used already, is our EU Space Academy. EU Space Academy was born because many of our entrepreneurs in space, they come, like me, from engineering world. And so often they don't know how to deal with investors, how to make a business plan. They don't know the details of the space opportunities offered by the EU Space program. And so we created this EU Space Academy. It's online, but include also one-to-one mentoring and also live workshops. And it's already pretty used. So the first target is entrepreneurs, but it's not limited. We know that many of our users are not entrepreneurs, but they are people from different organizations, even from the industry. And you see here some of our partners. And we have more than 300 hours of lecture. We cover all the aspects of the EU space as well as to the business space. And we offer also this live opportunity to join us in this Space Academy. So it's a good entry point, it's the way to start, but also it can be used to deepen the knowledge. We recently, for example, added space and security modules that are really of high interest in this very moment, as you know. So this is a bit an overview of what we already have, but we would like to have more. And for this reason, we decided to invite with us tonight two testimonials to guide us of what is already out there more, what we can do more. So the first of all, we would like to ask you who you are, if you can introduce yourself. So Tom, tell us a bit more.
Thank you very much. My name is Tom Trill. I'm the CEO of a company called Qualinx. We're based in the Netherlands, in Delft, near TU Delft. In fact, we were spun out of TU Delft originally in 2015 through the PhD work of our founders. The PhD work was on digital RF, and that's our novelty, and that's how we approach building GNSS receivers. Effectively, what that means is we can migrate the vast majority of RF from the analog domain into the digital domain, and as a result, we get all the benefits of CMOS scaling, and that manifests in the form of lower power, higher performance, and sometimes lower cost.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Tom. Indeed, so we will have the point of view of a deep tech company, startup. Tomáš.
Indeed, and to sort of balance our guests on the podium, we decided to invite Milva Carbonaro, who is the coordinator of Space for Geo, which is a bit more like the academic side and the side that is trying to really bridge the gap that we have in skills. So Milva, if you could also briefly introduce yourself and Space for Geo.
Thank you very much for having me. And yes, I'm Milva Carbonaro. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the GISIG Association, which is an association working on geospatial since 1992 as University Enterprise Training Partnership. And as such, we are coordinating since 2023 the Space for Geo Large-Scale Skills Partnership on space data services and applications. And I must say that I'm the typical example of person working in space, which has not a space background, because I'm more humanities and economics, both. But that's exactly what you say, that space is for all. So we are here to discuss, happy to present what you are doing.
Yeah, thanks, Milva, for sharing also your personal experience. So space is for all. So Tom, but when I talk with the entrepreneurs and we ask, normally we start with this question, what you really need? What is blocking points for you? And the answer is, there are two answers normally. One is capital, and okay, we understood. And the second one is people, so skilled people, talented people to work in our companies. Is it true? And what type of skilled people do you need in a deep tech startup?
Yeah, I think capital is not trivial at all, but it's not the problem, it's not the blocker. There's no shortage of capital for good talent, we'll put it that way. I do think that there has to be a mentality shift in terms of the semiconductor industry being a global industry, and you're competing in the global labor market for talent. And our single biggest issue and challenge in the last 3.5 years has been finding talent. We had a budget to end last year with 80 employees. The vast majority should have been engineers. We ended at 50, and we have 3 full-time HR people and external recruiters working around the clock. And finding talent in and of itself is a problem, is a challenge. Now, finding qualified talent is the next problem. And I've been in semiconductor for over 30 years. And when I joined, it was a little bit sexy at the time, and then it lost its sex appeal, but it's coming back again because of AI. But the reality is RF, analog RF or digital RF is just not that sexy, really. But I'm going to come back to this later, because I think the Galileo constellation and the services that EUSPA are deploying are changing the nature of the perspective of RF engineering and what we can do. So I do see a change coming. But one thing I would finish this point on is that even though the net effect is disappointing in terms of the availability of talent, the diversity in that talent is getting better and better all the time. And we hire the best, but as it turns out, about 1/3 of our employees are female, predominantly in the engineering team, not just in non-engineering. So I think that's indicative of another shift in the industry.
Yeah, that's very nice to hear, because this morning I was waiting desperately for a woman to appear in our panels, and the first woman that appeared was one of our commissioners in the European Commission. So, yeah, so that's also interesting to know. So different type of skills, and also to make them a bit sexy, so that the talent will come to you. Please.
Exactly, and I'm very happy that you were mentioning that, for example, semiconductors is one of the areas that you may be having troubles to finding people. And I think that very, very happy to have Milva here, because I suppose that Space4Geo is the right organization that actually may have the solution for that, at least partially. So maybe, Milva, if you could tell us how you are in Space4Geo working on the fact that you help to supply this demand, how to supply this demand of the talent when it comes, for example, to semiconductors, or also any different topics that the industry may be missing.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Indeed, in Space4Geo, we are working to fill this gap in talents through different ways. You know that as large-scale skills partnership, we have not funding per se, but how we are reaching out our objectives through flagship projects. And in one of these projects that we have running nowadays, already since 2 years, we performed a deep skills intelligence analysis to understand which are the skills gaps to be filled in. And indeed, the technical gaps are so in those that we call transversal skills, domain skills like AI, cybersecurity, machine learning are among the most demanded skills that companies, according to the interviews we conducted, are looking for. But what we are doing also is trying to match the results that we obtain through the skills intelligence also with what could be the trends also for future occupation from now on. I must say that we are analyzing the EUSPA market segment in this sense, also to understand which are the trends. And we are just starting now to design what it is called the proactive response, so dedicated, let's say, quality training to address those occupational profiles which are more in demand. We know that semiconductor is, let's say, a sensitive aspect from this point of view, and actually there is also another large-scale skills partnership which is exactly, let's say, dealing with the shortage on semiconductor. But the good news is that thanks to the work of the Commission and in DG Employment and the PET for Skills Support Office, there are very good and close relationships among large-scale skills partnership, because as we know, let's say these sectors are strictly highly interconnected, and we are already, let's say, working together to, let's say, solve this problem. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Skills map, and thanks also for quoting our market segments in our market report. I'm happy they're useful also in this case. So, Tom, let me be back to you. So I would like to ask you, in your entrepreneurial journey, what's the EUSPA, the European Commission, the institution made that can be useful and can be replicated? What are your suggestions? Also in the field of skills, but not limited.
One of the things that we gain the most value out of as a startup through the relationship we have with EUSPA is your comprehension of the importance of the broad ecosystem, enabling the ecosystem and connecting the dots. And those dots are really, really important, because they're dots from the investment side, outside investment and funding that comes directly through your programs. But that funding enables the integration of key Galileo and EUSPA services technology in the root of the system in silicon. So understanding the benefits of that pull-through innovation and feeding and fueling the innovation at the roots level is really helpful, has been really helpful to us, and I imagine will continue to be extremely valuable to the next cohort of startups in our space. You mentioned the market report. The market report from EUSPA has been our sort of North Star, our go-to reference in all of our fundraising activities. We pointed all of our investor and all of the investment community to the EUSPA report as being one truth point of data, and we just measure from there every year. So highly valuable report for anybody in our sector. And then the mentoring. We've just recently completed the integration of OSNMA in our silicon, and the mentoring and the support system around that implementation was second to none. It was world class. It's not an easy job. It's quite complicated, but our team has always felt the support from EUSPA has been on demand and top class. So effectively, all those three things together prime us as a startup to launch to market and hit the ground running with a really good differentiated product working on Galileo with your OSNMA. That's where it lands.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So ecosystem, market intelligence, mentoring that permit to enable the products. Tomáš, back to you.
And I would maybe pick up one of the aspects that you have mentioned, which I think are the synergies, because you said that you're trying to work or complement on the work that EUSPA is doing. So they have the market segments, and you're really trying to apply the, let's say, ideology of EUSPA also into your work. So Milva, I would maybe ask you about synergies in general, because it's not only the Draghi report, but it's also the vision for the European space economy that are talking about breaking the silos, bringing together close to the academia, industry, research and development agencies, but also the public institutions.
Yeah.
So could you maybe tell us a bit more how the cooperation between Space4Geo and industry is going on, and also how do you perceive the angle with the institutions? And maybe if you also see some sort of ways how this cooperation on any level could be further enhanced.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, indeed, synergies and collaboration, and let's say not reinventing the wheel and proceed with complementary action is at the core of the objectives of the large-scale skills partnership. The core objective is to put together the key stakeholders which have an interest in developing skills in a specific domain, in our case, space downstream, and so act in such a way that the results of the initiatives and projects carried out at different levels, not only EU-funded projects, but also initiatives like the EU Space Academy or the training actions which are put forward by ECMWF, to make an example, are reused, and in each of the single project, you reuse what is already available, built on already available results, and go further on that one. So in that case, in the partnership, the components not only of academia, but also of public authorities, public institutions, research centers, companies, in particular SMEs, is of great importance. And what we are doing in our project is exactly to have these actors working together. And for instance, in the activities I was mentioning regarding skills intelligence or the design of training actions, for instance, companies there are a key actor. When we design training actions or mainly curricula for a key occupational profile, for instance, now we are in a good stage of developing a training offer for a precision agriculture technician. And companies are part of the designing phase. So they contribute together with academia and vet providers to the definition of learning outcomes, which are, by the way, defined in such a level of granularity that can afterwards enable the release of micro-credential. That we believe it's the way to go, also to attract more, let's say, even adult people already on the job market to be upskilled and reskilled, because, let's say, in the fight for talent that the sector is facing, there is also a competition with other domains, with other, let's say, industrial ecosystem. So it is important to make our training sexy, to use a word that you used before, and attractive for people to be maybe reskilled from declining sectors or things like that. So the synergies at all levels, for sure. Difficult to summarize in a minute.
Yeah, thanks. I think it was very clear. We have very few minutes left, so maybe one last question that maybe can serve both of you is, okay, we have in front a new financial perspective. Here we can do more on skills, you saw what we do. What is still missing? What's the real need? Should we reskill, upskill people? Should we introduce new courses? Should we do professional training? So what's the most important? If you have to choose one. Point of view entrepreneur, point of view of who is providing support?
Well, I can only say what is something which became evident in our project, even past, is that there is, let's say, an academic offer in the field, quite various, but a bit scattered. So I heard this morning someone asking in a panel about a European master or something like that. I know that there are already initiatives in this sense, but probably this, which is something also followed by the University Alliance initiative, could be fostered more. And in particular, what we detected in our sector is that lower EQF levels, so to say, are missing. So what we are really engaged in, and maybe it's a kind of good practice that we can put off the table, is to engage vet providers, which could, let's say, guide also the upskilling and reskilling of adults, for instance, to enter into the training and provide training for, let's say, space downstream application. We already started with vet providers in construction, so teaching them Earth observation for energy efficiency of building. They are training, we are repeating this experience in other regions. So I believe academia, okay, but also let's focus more on other level of education.
Yeah, so really to bring not space as such, so rocket scientists, but more how do I apply space in energy, how do I apply space in construction and so on. Okay. Tom, and then Tomáš, I will give you the word for the concluding remarks. Tom?
Thanks. I'll share I'll try to be as pragmatic as I can from our perspective. We would love to hire graduates from college directly into the company, but we can't afford it, because you need folks who have the experience that can hit the ground running and help us go from a PowerPoint presentation to building a semiconductor. So the risks are super high, and we just cannot afford the time it takes to mentor and train a recent graduate in the company. Now, when we ship product, that'll change, obviously, but it brings me to the most pragmatic point insofar as there's no real feeder system from third-level institutions that are educated in Galileo or in EUSPA services. And I think it represents a massive opportunity to not only create more qualified employees for jobs like we have, but also to create a competitive moat around Galileo and EUSPA in very much the same way as NVIDIA has incubated CUDA through the university system in the US. And if we can replicate that here, it might be generational, but the roots will grow deeper and deeper. And I think that's a win-win for everybody.
Okay, so we have to fill in the gap between the academia and ready to work. Yeah. Tomáš.
Indeed, I think again brought us back to the synergies that really are needed to be created, and that really to break down the silos between academia, industry, and maybe the public institutions as well, to really make sure that academia produces such talent that can be, let's say, directly after the graduation hired by the companies, because that's exactly what not only you, I'm pretty sure, would need. And indeed, to also cover and address these issues, as it was mentioned in the very beginning, we have the vision for the European space economy, where skilled workforce is indeed a very important building pillar, where we address 5 action points for skills, and indeed they mainly focus on upskilling, reskilling, but also bringing together the academia industry, but also increasing, for example, the inclusivity in the space industry. So we really hope that we will have you as our partners to help us to implement all of those action points, and indeed more of you. And we cannot wait indeed to show you any new projects that in the European Commission may develop. So with this, I would like to thank a lot our 2 guests on the stage, to Tom and Milva, and I wish you all a great evening.